Okay, I think you can go live, babe.
Hello everyone, happy Friday, January 22nd, 2021. Here we are in Natural Pigments. My name is Tatiana Zaytseva. I will be assisted like always by George O'Hanlon. Today we will talk about historical yellows. And if you are here, obviously you know something about natural pigments and especially about Rublev line oil colors. I will tell you today the major three different points, how we are different from everybody else, from all other companies. And one of the suspects will be the historical pigments. So another one is no additives and different particle size, which we will definitely cover on other programs. How today will they go? So first we will show you probably like 30 minutes video, which we will talk about all different yellow colors. And after that, if you have any questions, I mean, you can post your questions during the while we are talking. George will read them and immediately answer if we need. If not, so then after this 30 minutes video, we can definitely show you all colors. I can squeeze it, paint with some of them, and so the Rublev colors, we started 17 years ago, and the first question was what pigments will we take, and there were not much struggle about. We decided to take historical pigments adventing before 1850. Then quickly we understood then there are some pigments what not exist anymore on your palette. And so then nowadays we are saying 1850 or pigments what disappearing from your palette. So some of them don't need to be on your palette. Some of them definitely have interest. And so let's talk about yellows. Great. So let's, so what you will see right now. So on left side, I will have Lenten yellow light, and on right side, we will have cadmium yellow light, and we will compare on both sides, and so you will see how they different. With white, I will try to mix equal amount of white with color. Although on all others, will be different amounts, obviously, because otherwise it will all colors. What you saw, it will be cadmium red light, orange molybdate, violet, it would be ultramarine violet and ultramarine blue. They will be overpowering, so it will be very small amounts I will add to the color.
This lead tin yellow is a pigment that was used in the late medieval period and came through until about the middle of the 17th century. And then it disappeared, and we didn't even know it existed until the 1941. It was discovered at the Dorner Institute on some 17th century paintings. And we have this lead tin yellow in 3 different shades, and this is the light shade.
What I understand, it's 2 types of lead tins, and George, if you can explain what's the difference.
Yes, the two, there's a type 1 and a type 2. And the type 1 is the lead tin oxide, and the type 2 is a lead tin silicate. So a slight difference in the pigment chemistry. Someone asked if Vermeer used it. Yes, definitely. All 17th century artists were using this color. It was very popular at that time. And someone else asks, lead tin. What was lead tin yellow used for? Well, it was used in glass, but artists found, and by the way, a lot of pigments were used for other purposes. Specifically, a lot of them found function in glass, and so this artist then started using it in their paint. What's interesting about this color is the lead tin yellow light is that it's a very, very pale hue, somewhat transparent, and you can see it just modulates, its colors when it's in mixtures, which is incredible when you think about see the difference between the cadmium yellow.
Some of our customers use lead tin yellow light as a white, actually. So then, and you can see why it is. It's very pale and slightly yellowish, and so then, yes, it's not as strong as white color. Especially for portraiture, it would be great to use.
Amy asks, I'm curious how it would compare to mixing with Naples Yellow. We don't mix it here with Naples, but we could do that a little bit later.
We will show all of you, all colors here. We will show chromes and Naples Yellows here. But is that what the question? So if you mix lead tin with Naples Yellow, is that was the question?
Yeah,
okay.
that's what it
okay.
sounded like there.
Okay.
Amresh asks, is the lead tin silicate what the artist Giotto used to paint and get gold shapes in? Giotto used actual gold leaf in his frescoes, and it's possible that he also used lead tin yellow because it was used throughout the medieval period. So it's an interesting color as a result. Patrick remarks that the third mix is a nice flesh tone. Yes,
absolutely.
That's where it really shines, this particular color. Hillary asks if it could be used to moderate other colors, and yeah, very definitely. That's what it's really good. It's kind of a warm white.
Yes.
And that's how a lot of artists so far have been using it. And you see that when it's mixed with that ultramarine violet or any kind of violet, see that grayish color. It's wonderful, and it can be modulated so that it goes a little bit cool to a little bit warm. And some other interesting facts about lead tin. It was called massicot in old manuscripts. Also giallolino, which is the Italian word, and it had some other common names.
Here's on our cards what we showed you before. Now it's exactly the same cards, white and black. You can see how that color looks on both. And so that's the mixtures what we already mixing now. So yes, you can see the difference between two of them. This is just Lenten Yellow. First was Lenten Yellow Light. This is Lenten Yellow. And it's quite stronger than the first one, you can see, but still not as cadmiums, I'm sorry. You see the tinting abilities on the right side.
Hillary asks if this video will be recorded. Yes, it will be. Lovey asks, I'd like to see it compared to unbleached titanium. Unfortunately, we don't have a buff titanium here today with us. Otherwise, we would try that.
In fact, we don't have ultramarine violet as a oil color. I made specifically just for that video. I hand grind, and so it's why it's behaved quite different than all other colors, just to show for you how it's all of these yellows behave as violet. Now, of course, George, seeing that video, he wants to produce this color, and so I just probably made mistake doing this color.
She doesn't like it when I see new colors and get excited and want to make them again.
Yes, it's like always.
It's ultramarine violet is a very transparent and somewhat weak tinting violet, but it's, we really love weak tinting colors because they're so easy to work with. You don't overshoot a color when you start mixing it, and Tanya does a really great job here of getting some tints on the fly like this. She's doing it very fast though. It's amazing.
Know.
Wow, look at that knife. Also, lead tin yellow, by the way, they've actually found lead tin oxides in glass and ceramic glazes, which is where it really was used primarily, as much earlier than the 1300s. They find it in Roman glass, but it wasn't used in painting, and we're focusing on how it was used in painting primarily here.
Here's again all these mixtures what you saw on the cards.
Lovey asks, how much money do you have to pay to work there? That's great.
Me or you?
We don't make anything.
That's the fun. So
we have too much fun doing this.
And here's lead tin yellow dark, and you can see. And so later, after when we didn't compare here between three lead tins, the cards, but I will show you later how they are different, and so you will see definitely on altogether three.
Nancy asks, how does number 1 and 2 differ from mixing and modeling? Or if you're referring to lead white light and the lead tin light and the lead tin yellow. Well, they're just a little bit darker, and one's a little bit more darker. The lead tin yellow, of course, is a little bit more yellowish.
I can tell you this, like if Nancy asked about behavior, so then probably the Lenten Yellow light, the fluffiest one. And when next one we will show Naples Yellow for you, and so I will tell you this. So it's so like toughy like, and it's a little bit like almost uncomfortable to work. But again, it's one thing what I am just mixing the colors, and another one when it's on your palette. And Naples Yellow are beautiful colors. And if we will talk about all our 5 historical yellows, of course, probably Lenten Yellow would be the easiest one to work, because you can't overshoot, you can overpower. It's just quite I found that easiest one to work with.
Someone asks, what about Strontium Yellow? That's we don't do a Strontium Yellow, but we're looking at it.
Don't ask that because George already talked about this. And
we're looking at a couple of that's a 19th century color. We're looking at a couple of those that are quite interesting. Amy asks, are you a new company? Like Tanya mentioned, we actually founded Natural Pigments in 2003. We didn't start making oils until about 2006 or 7.
2006 we made first our batches, brought to National Gallery George's friends, and that was our first attempt. It's 16 years ago,
yeah.
15, 16 years ago. And like I said in the beginning, when we made our first batches, the first equation come up: what colors do we choose? And we intentionally didn't want to have exactly the same colors like everybody else using, because everybody else doing such a great job. Why to bother? So our colors, if you will look our catalog in 2007, it was only 22 colors, but they did include most interesting colors. Nobody in the world make them. Among them it was we are now entering Naples Yellow. So so back to
we're showing the 3 Naples Yellows that we have.
Yes.
And these are some of the names: Giallolino, Zellolino, Niepgelb, and which is lead antimony. And one thing just wanted to make sure and say here is lead antimony. Naples Yellow, the name has only been used to designate lead antimony for the last 300 years. But the problem is Naples Yellow is often confused and only means a mixed color. And in fact, all of your tubes of paint where it says Naples Yellow is not actually lead antimony. So it's a big issue with us, because it's there's a lot of confusion. So we always put a lead antimony along with the name to alleviate some of the confusion.
So back to what I said about first 22 colors. Among them we had actually smalt, we did have Cinnabar, we did have malachite. We still try to come back to these colors, and we definitely will make a big announcement about when we have all of them. But at this point, all colors what we have right now are historical, what we show in today. They count as a historical because not many companies make them anymore.
Someone asks, other than its subtlety, does Lenten Yellow have long-lasting advantages? It does.
Absolutely.
Over things like, let's say, other types of colors. And the good thing is that it's much faster drying. And so in mixtures with other colors. So if you mix it with a cadmium, it'll get the cadmium to dry faster, because cadmiums dry extremely slow. Alvin asks, was there a specific reason for using lead white here? It's because with our company, we specialize in lead colors. Few other companies do that, and because we believe that there's a lot of benefit. We know there's a lot of benefit in using lead white because it does make the strongest paint films, the more flexible paint films. Titanium actually ends up being somewhat brittle as a result.
And so, how we mentioned before, some of the colors in the history, they are just pushing each other. So if we today we will show you another great color. It's Orpiment. So that was used through the history, but again was lost at some point. So like then it was pushed by Lenten Yellow was pushed by Naples Yellow, because Naples Yellow was much easier to produce, and so then Lenten Yellow disappeared, like George said, so for several centuries. Then Naples Yellow was pushed by chromes. Chromes were pushed by cadmiums. Cadmiums now pushed by organic pigments, and nowadays we live in a crazy world where cadmiums, some cadmium-free colors, which is sounds crazy, but that's where we are going. And like I said, and some colors would make sense if probably 22nd century artists will never know what zinc white is. Hopefully that's the case, or maybe even better, so our scientists will figure out how to make zinc white as less brittle than it is right now. Same like happened with cadmium chromes, I'm sorry. So then, because with if we will take early history of chromes, they were not as stable as these days, and when we will be in chromes, George will definitely talk about that, how we prevent these days chromes discoloring.
Michael asks, is lead tin yellow light made with the same pigment as regular lead tin yellow with the addition of a white pigment? And the answer is it's just a different shade of the pigment. Pigments can be modified, just like you have different shades of cadmiums. It's still one pigment, but it's modified by the process, whether it's in a furnace and they heat it, or different proportions of, in the case of lead tin yellow, lead oxide and tin oxide. There's Yoke.
Oh, hi, Yoke.
She asks about the permanence of the color. It has a very good reputation. Lead tin yellow is a very stable color. Same with Naples Yellow too. Now we're getting into the chromes. And the Chrome Yellows started at the beginning of the 19th century. Initially, they had a very bad reputation because they darkened, or they usually tended to darken. This was fixed, let's say, in the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, when they began to coat the pigment with a silicate. And so now it's actually a fairly permanent pigment.
See, that's what I was talking about. Some colors are behaving some kind of badly, and so then suddenly artists decide to not use. So then that's the stigma was against the chromes. So it's why chromes were very beautiful colors on the beginning of 20th century, and end of the 19th and beginning of 20th century. Van Gogh painted with that, and so now that's why this sunflowers are his sunflowers are not the same colors, but just because of science, so we know how to fix it. And so these days we are only company in the world who make the
Chrome Yellows.
Chrome Yellows. Yes. Thank you.
Still going back, getting questions about lead tin whited.
Yes.
a lot of these colors disappear, by the way, because remember that they were originally used in other things than artist paints. And so when they found other pigments that perhaps were less expensive, they dropped making those pigments, and so that's why they tend to disappear. This is still happening. You have a pigment called Manganese Blue, which the company in Germany stopped making right at the end of 1990s, and so it disappears. Not because it was a bad pigment, it just it wasn't a very strong tinting pigment, and so they didn't, and it was a little more expensive than other blues that could be duplicated in the hue. But see, for artists, it's not simply about hue. It has to be about longevity, and these historical pigments are light fast and stable for the most part, and
it's like you see that that beautiful color right in the middle, orange molybdate. So it was 20th century color. It was discovered in 1920s, but by 1970s it was dropped by all companies because it contains lead. So we decided to bring to you back because it's such a beautiful color, very stable these days, and so it's not as red as cadmiums, but as powerful as the cadmiums too. So yeah, beautiful color, one of our bestsellers.
And I just put up Claire asks, will lead tin react chemically with a copper plate? In the sense that all oil colors react somewhat to a copper plate, in that the copper acts as a dryer. But other than that, as far as we know, we haven't tested it on copper plate, but it was historically used on copper plates, and so yes, I think it is long-lasting in that regards. And long-lasting meaning light fast, but there's other issues besides light fastness that can be a problem. But these colors, they're stable colors. Stephanie asks about lead white paint. And
oh, we love to talk about lead white. So what's about due to
we
toxicity?
Don't have to, we may be able to talk about safety and tips a little bit later.
Yes.
But it is possible to use these pigments in a safe way.
And you can see I'm in gloves. That is the major what you can do to prevent toxicity on your different skin.
The difference between lead tin yellow and Naples yellow?
In my opinion, like I said, lead tin yellow much easier to work with, just due to the how color behaves, because Naples yellow a little bit more tacky, toughy, like, and on top of that, they are not as powerful, not the tinting strength. That's what I'm saying. So, but again, you guys all different. And so some of you absolutely love powerful colors, and so then if we talk like cadmiums, so then of course it's you know, in my opinion, lead tin's much easier to work with. I do need to mention the prices, of course, and because the lead tints are more expensive. Naples yellow even more expensive. It's due to the pigments, and so of course cadmiums in this case would be less.
Oh, now we get into the fun color. Just Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Just wanted to say silicate is because silicate is the reason is because silicate is inert, so that it protects the color. This is also the case, by the way, for titaniums. All the titaniums today are coated in a silicate or perhaps a zirconium. That's very common.
So this is one of the most interesting colors among
this is Orpamet.
Orpiment.
Yeah.
There, nobody in the world is attempting to do that. We are here crazy enough to do this because George absolutely loves all the historical colors, and so Orpiment, it's arsenic sulfate, so it's quite toxic. Please be careful, don't eat. So, but other
it is
than that,
arsenic sulfide.
yes,
And it was found as a paint pigment in the earliest dynasties of Egypt.
yes, very old. And historically, it's made with glass powder. That's what we are doing.
Or it was ground with glass powder,
with yes.
which is what we did in this particular sample here.
So, which makes, when I was working with that color, makes it quite unusual property. It's almost like sand-like. It's difficult to work and difficult to spread. I should say
it's
that.
a large particle size
yes,
pigment.
it is huge. And so, and again, who knows about us? We talk about particle size quite often. And so Orpiment will be probably our biggest particles.
You can see the texture here in these
Yes.
samples here. They're
Yes.
very visible. We may produce a smaller particle version of Orpiment too.
But for now we have this one,
This one, yeah.
and you see the difference.
Yeah.
And by the way, while I'm painting here with Orpiment, it smells as rotten eggs.
It's a sulfide. It's
yeah.
arsenic sulfide. So it's a specialty thing. We don't encourage everybody to go out and get.
No, please, yes, and it will be
that.
quite expensive. So it's not for everybody, and we don't encourage you to work with that unless you definitely need that, specifically historical aspect of that color.
So I'm going to try to go back and put on a few of the questions
Okay.
that we saw. Let me see here. And let me see here. Trying to keep going here. Sorry about this.
It's okay. So while George is looking for the question, so I can tell you this: if George, if you will put that camera, is that possible to
Yep.
show them?
Yeah. Once you go
So
and show
I
it.
wanted to show you this 3 Lentens, and you can see Lenten Yellow Light, our regular Lenten Yellow, and Lenten Yellow Dark, and you can see the difference in between 3 of them. Look at that. None of the other colors could produce that. So this is quite unusual. And of course, that's story of our company. Every time when we talk about some colors, and so we sold out. And so then the moment we advertise, then we will talk today about historical Lentens and historical yellows. We sold out this 2 color. So actually these 2 colors right now we're out of stock. Don't worry, probably by the end of the February we will be back in stock. We definitely will have this colors we will have. It's not like in story with vermilion, because for now we really sitting on bench, and so we don't even know will we have a color at all or not, pigment at all. But Lentens not a problem. It's just we didn't expect to sell that many. So these Lentens, and I can tell you this: I painted all of them at the same time, and it was was probably 5 days ago. That was dried over 3 days. Was completely dried. So here I will show you Naples Yellow. And you will see how they are different. So all of them together, and so they dried too, and they dried as fast as Lentens. And here I will show chromes, and that's what interesting. I want you to see that. You see this? So chromes dried quite fast, but on very top layers. So if you will paint with chromes, you need to remember they will dry very fast top layer, but if you paint very thickly, so then be careful. It's still kind of soft inside there. I just wanted to really to show you colors. That's why I made that very thick layers. So this is our chromes compared to Lentens. And I will hopefully not make a big mess of that, because cadmiums are not even close to dry. Today I touched, and you can see then it's still not dried even. So then
Cadmiums are very slow drying.
very slow. And yep, that's so this is the difference. I wanted to show all of them together compared to Lentens. And here is of course Orpiment.
Interesting about Orpiment, Henry asks here, I wonder if it ever was used in cosmetic. Yes, exactly. It was used in cosmetics in Egypt.
Yes, this is.
It is. They found samples of the Orpiment Yellow Arsenic Sulfide, along with its cousin Realgar, in cosmetic cases. So that's kind of interesting. And then Elizabeth says, of course, that there's many forms of Orpiment. Orpiment has a reputation of reacting with some other pigments, so but it certainly will help your painting from being eaten by insects, because that's exactly how it was used in some cases.
Smells horrible even after drying, and so it's really smelly color.
But it's very interesting.
It is.
It's a fascinating. We were also asked if.
And you can see look at the look. I wanted to show you if it's visible, the undertone, and so you can see how yellowish here.
Yeah, it goes from this kind of ochreish yellow,
Yeah.
and if you spread it thinly, it'll go
Yeah.
to a bright yellow. It's pretty
amazing.
versatile about
Yes,
that.
amazing.
And then of course we do have the pigment, and we will I hope next month, introduce a set of very rare colors, such as Cinnabar in syringes.
Oh.
So I might have said something that I shouldn't have.
Jesus.
But it's going to be exciting. So we're really excited about introducing
it's
that.
supposed to be on December, but some colors are misbehaving, and we will have quite interesting colors. So it will be quite expensive, but yes, it will be available for you. So among we were talking about the smalt colors and Cinnabar. So Cinnabar we were able to bring back to our line, and that's due to because we lost our vermilion, and vermilion is synthetic version of the Cinnabar. It's mercuric sulfate, and so that's why we brought until we will find the vermilion. And on all our classes we talk about, of course, the interesting blue color. It's called smalt. And again, we sell the pigments in two different particle sizes. And if whoever is interested, please call us. I would be happy to explain how and what, how to use it. But it was historically used by almost all our old masters. The problem is we can't make the color and put in tube. Because it can stay a long time in the oil, suspended in oil, so it will lever in. So that's why we don't do that. We did have that attempt 12 years ago. It was most interesting color. People whoever bought and used immediately, of course, were so excited and still call us and begging us to repeat that color. And but unfortunately, we can't put in tubes. So buy the pigment and mix in your palette and use it immediately.
Nancy asks, what pigments does Orpamet react? In literature, it's said to react with lead white and with copper-based pigments. And we're going to be testing that to be sure, because not everything in literature is correct in the old literature, but we're going to be testing that to determine whether it can be used with the lead white or not.
Did somebody
Kali
ask?
asks, is Chrome Yellow light
Yes.
or medium more like the historical shade? It's approximate. Because these colors, when you produce them, you know, they're more or less close to these historical colors because of the constituency, but they may not be dead on, because that will tend to vary from pigment to pigment. T-Boat asks, have been using our Lenten Yellows, and she likes the Lenten Yellow Dark mixed with local earth colors from Wyoming. Great. Yeah, they work perfect with other earth colors. Elizabeth asks, does the dried paint film ever stop smelling like sulfur? Yes, absolutely.
For now, it's not, but probably at some point it will.
It will. It doesn't fill the room. It just, you know, it's just a little bit of smell during. Tanya's more sensitive to it than I am.
It does smell like rotten eggs, so you can't. Here's somebody, I think, was asking Naples Yellow compared to Lenten Yellow. So I'm just putting here, and so I don't know. You want it mixed with other colors, or just to show you how it's behaved. By the way, here's a question always we were asked, and so yes, it is. The separation can happen because it's very heavy pigment, and as a company, we decided from the beginning do not put any additives. So and it's lead pigments, you remember lead antimonate and lead tints, so then it's literally it's like half a pound every each of them, and so it will happen. And so if it happens, so you can just put on, you know, on the paper, and whatever exceeds
soak up the excess oil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
you can put it back in.
As much as it sounds crazy, you can shake up, and I can hear. I don't know if you will hear. I just will do this near the microphone, but yes. So then, in this case, you need to keep your tubes upside down. So when you keep them upside down, so the oil goes up. It's just simple physics, and so then when you squeeze, then the oil will not gush. But even if it happened, it's not a big deal. So again, so the excess of oil, so then will just leak to the paper. So
there's a question
Yeah.
In regards to going back to smalt.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
it a color or a dryer?
It's actually color, but it happened to be a dryer, because George will tell us
it's a cobalt glass, so it acts
Yes.
as a dryer. It was used as a dryer as well as a color. And Sherry asks, was it vermilion that has to be used right away? And no, it's
absolutely not.
It's smalt. It's smalt.
Yeah, vermilion. You know, we were selling this on Portrait Society. When artists would come every year, and they would, because we usually don't have any discounts, and so that would be opportunity for artists to buy on our special occasions. And so then vermilions, just because it's such a powerful color, And so it's the tinting strength is so great. So you use smallest amount, and so then some people come to me and they would say like they have a 6 years tubes, and so it will be just still like this. And so no, you can and there almost never I heard a separation on vermilion, although vermilion is the heaviest pigment on the planet Earth now, what we know. Maybe very soon we will find out something else, but for now, yes. So vermilion, great color. Unfortunately, we lost for now.
Sophie asks, do plain pigments left in powder form have a shelf life? No. No, they can be stored. They're finding pigments in ancient Egypt that are still usable. So, so yeah, they can be used any amount of time.
Do I mix with colors, or
go ahead?
We just
Yeah.
What do you want me to mix with?
Well, somebody wanted to see Naples Yellow and Lenten Yellow.
So this is together.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Okay. I don't see the purpose, but anyway. Oh yes, that's okay. Again, I would think that probably with white would be more, but I already did that on video.
So if we have any other requests, we'll take some requests. Tanya, this is a question from someone regarding Naples Yellow.
Yes.
It looked tacky compared to the lead tin, so was just confirming.
Yes. Naples Yellow, it's definitely tacky.
Tackier.
Tackier, yeah. Yes. If this one is, it's quite fluffy. All lead tins, but Naples are definitely stickier. And again, it's what we always tell artists. So then Naples Yellow is probably one of the true yellows. If you look cadmiums, and usually when you mix them with other colors, so then, or especially like whites, so they go or towards green or towards orangey. So, but lead tins are staying true to the yellow, and you could see that on swatches too. So yeah, that's one of the like beautiful colors, I think. Now it was a lot of discoveries for us too. So George and I, we make these colors last 15 years, but we never put them together. And just because we promise you to do this session today, so we were working last week on these colors together. That was incredible discovery for us. So, yeah.
And somebody asked here.
Yes.
That's a very pale lead tin yellow.
Yes.
I think that's herb, but it's the lead tin yellow. That's the lead tin yellow light.
Yes.
Which is different from the lead tin yellow.
Yes. I can put for you right now lead tin yellow.
So you might have a different version of that.
Yeah. So right here, you can see here how different. That's the lead tin yellow. Like here. Oh, that's, you can see. Okay, here.
And
like that. And that's like that.
We don't have any greens here, do we?
I have, unfortunately, I have only Viridian.
So
yes.
Christina would like to see a lead tin yellow light. With,
yes.
Let's see it with the
Viridian.
With the Viridian. Yeah.
It's quite powerful. So I'm not sure what should I'm not an artist, Christina. I remember I just let's see how I will try to.
No, just add it in there.
And if we show what Viridian actually looks like, so it's quite, like I said, it's quite powerful. And
Yeah. So you can use it you can use the lead tin yellow light to substitute for any white
yes.
to kind of and keep it warm. So that's a really good function for that. Deb asks,
Yes.
can you talk about why you use no additives in tube paints?
Okay, now you can switch to me, and so then, because look like I'm much better when I'm on recordings mixing. So yes, so we will have whole section or video like this made why exactly we don't put any additives, but short story is, so then our company started in garage, and we definitely didn't think of as a company. It was George's hobby, and so he was mixing his own colors because he was working on egg tempera mostly at that time. But one day he decided to go back to his love, which was oil colors, and he mixed all colors for himself. He was amazed how they behave different than tubed colors, what was given to artists in and what is it, like 20th century? Now it's 21st. So that's how it started. And so then the moment we, being the modern people, of course, we understood that in order to put that color in the tube, all companies in the world are putting additives. And in order to stabilize the pigment in the oil, because what additives do, they gel like oil, and so it's strictly for production. It was nothing to do with artist side and how you see the color. So, but the moment we put additive to the first hour color, the behavior was gone. And it's become this, toothpaste looking like buttery, like what all other companies are proud to say about, like, here's buttery color. So it's good on some cases, absolutely, but we didn't see this as advantage. So we decided do not put any additives. That means we making our colors quite different. We produce them different, and about that we will talk next time. So that's the short story about, and so then that's why all our colors are behave different. All of them will be, some of them definitely have separation. We don't afraid that. We explain artists because in most cases artists are afraid of that and they think something wrong with color, and we explain that it's not, and you can mitigate that, like I said. So if it's too much oil, so then again it means in production we needed that oil in order to put through the machines, but other than that, just squeezing oil from the oil from tube, nothing bad with that. So if it needs to be, sometimes happen, and I want to mention that sometimes happen if you deplete so much oil, and at some point in the tube, when you come to the end of the tube, it's kind of stiff. Not in all colors, like I want to tell you this, it's not all colors behave like this, but so that means you took all oil what it needs to be for that pigment. So it's nothing wrong with that color, because as long as it's not doesn't have oxidation process going, so that means the air is not going through the tube, it's still good. So what you will do, you can just open the tube from another side, take out everything from the tube, and mix with any oil you have in your studio, and it will be good to go. But we will talk about all of that tricks and aspects of that colors later. But the major advantage of that what we try to do here in our company, so the color will behave as close as possible if you will grind that color by yourself. An advantage of that is using less mediums, and we will talk about this again next time. But now I need to mention the next week on Friday, and I believe it's Friday 29th of January. So same time here, we will meet you and we will show you how to make the oil paint. Doesn't mean then you all suddenly will start making your colors, but at least to see once how oil was paint hand grind, so, and the behavior. So that would be very interesting program. So then so again, I want to remind, January 29th, 10 o'clock Pacific time here, Natural Pigments. More questions?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you ever get a gray substance when mixing Naples Yellow with a steel palette knife?
Good question. Naples Yellow does react to metal, not exactly to knife.
It doesn't react to the metal, but what happens is, because the antinomy is very hard and
Yes.
abrasive,
Yes.
it actually will grind the metal.
Yes.
And then you end up with little, microscopic pieces of metal, which doesn't make it look gray, but actually makes it look green.
Yes.
But as you can see in practicality here, when Tanya's mixing, you don't really see it with a palette knife. But on the mill,
We did have fun experience.
we
So
wanted to
it
see
was-
if that was correct, and
We
we put
thought,
it.
like, if it's not reacting to knife, how about we will put on our meal, and we ground probably like first couple pounds, and we realized, and we put yellow pigment to the meal, and it was go out green. So that's
So we
true.
just did that experiment
true.
to see what it actually. So we have to grind it on stone mills.
Yes.
So that's the other thing.
Nowadays we have a stone mill in our company.
Is it okay to cut chrome yellows with extenders?
Absolutely.
You can do that with all paints.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Absolutely. So that would be a wise way to paint with that, because they are very powerful. And if you need to tune down, so you definitely can use extenders, or what in our company we have bright color, which is like very transparent barium sulfate white color. Or we have, actually in our company we do have, and we already talked about this, in pasta medium and Velasquez medium, which is essentially chalk and different linseed oils. So then yes, absolutely.
Alia.
Hi.
Alia. Are there concerns with any of these yellows being painted on copper itself as a substrate? No, except for possibly Orpamet. But we're going to be testing that to determine. So, but the lead tins and the Naples and the chrome yellows, no.
So nice to see today so many our friends here. So that's so great. Thank you guys being here.
The lead tin yellow is a lighter version of it. Is this a proprietary color? No, the lead tin yellow light is simply a light version of lead tin yellow. It is a single pigment.
Yes.
Not a color mix.
Here's another good aspect on our line of the colors. Almost all of our colors are single pigment, and we will talk about this later too. So we do have historical whites. We have mixture of only 2 pigments, and we have historical 5 mixtures, and again it's historical 19th century, and it's only 5 colors. All other colors in our company always single pigment.
Bridget asked, are there any famous paintings you could mention that have orpiment in them? Tintoretto made fantastic use of orpiment in his work. And we showed one of his works. It's a portrait during the early part of this this session here. Let me see here. And there were some questions about Naples Yellow, I'm sorry, Smalt.
Yes.
And
I opened jar of worms.
Yeah. Okay.
I know.
So the Smalt did alter, and it had to do with the chemical composition. Which means actually that it had when the smalt had a small amount of phosphate, it would leach out. The smalt that we have has a very high amount of phosphate, so it shouldn't fade, but we're going to be testing this also to be sure. But in our samples that we've done informally, we haven't seen much alteration there.
I can show, I have pigment right now. George, you can switch the camera, and so I can show just for fun. So you can answer questions.
So remember that we're going to be having this is going to be recording. And it will be available on our YouTube channel. You need to put it down a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Open it again.
I know. Okay.
Yeah. So this is small. We have another version called Royal Small too.
Here's Royal Smalt, and of course, for our students, I know you. I switched that. So that's the Royal Smalt. And that's the smalt. You see the difference. So then, but for our students, we will show you next week about this color. I will talk a lot. So this is the, yes.
Interesting question. Catherine asks, so Naples Yellow grind down paintbrushes quickly? No. The issue is that it's abrasive on metal, and so that wasn't an issue for brushes.
Probably should just return back to
the question here: do you know how artificial substitutes, nickel titanate yellow, stand up to the real lead tin yellow? If you mean by how they compare, we don't have that color here, so we couldn't do any kind of comparison at this point. And
crooked.
Any other requests there?
So I guess we are done for today.
So just keep in mind, we'll have this this is being recorded, so you can view this at a later time on the Natural Pigments Facebook page, as well as on our YouTube page.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
So nice to see you all here, and see you next time.
Bye now.